All right, I'd like to welcome everybody, Wasatch Front Regional Council meeting in August 25, 2022. And I hope everybody has had a good summer. You know, as a great Gatsby said, summer's almost over. Hate to see it go. So we really are down to our last week. But anyway, it's great to see all of you here in person. And I see we have a bunch of people online as well. So let's get started. And the first thing we'll do is some introductions. And I'm just going to start, I guess we'll start with Director Braceras over here. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, we'll go around the table in the room and then online.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Carlos Braceras. I'm with the Utah Department of Transportation.
Beth Holbrook, trustee, Utah Transit Authority.
Blaine Thackrell, Morgan County Commissioner.
Mike Newton, Morgan County Commission.
Mayor Wynn from Tooele City.
Mayor Ramsey, South Jordan City, representing WFRC. I'm at WFRC, representing the Utah League of Cities and Towns, and also casually attired. Sorry for that. And want to let my friends know I took a whole group of car drivers on tracks last night downtown. We had a great time anyway, and they were all sold on it. So just wanted you to know that they all loved it and it was great. And took a big old group of people. We didn't take any cars. So.
She has a green hat as well as all the other hats that she wears.
Jeff Scott, Bucks Sutter County Commission.
I'm Jeff Silvestrini, the chair of WFRC and mayor of Mill Creek.
And I'm Andrew Gruber, Executive Director of WFRC.
Andrea Pearson, WFRC.
Trustee, Utah Transit Authority.
Carlton Christensen with Utah Transit Authority and personal bodyguard for Jeff Acerson.
Okay.
Bob Stevenson, Davis County.
Jennifer Elskin, Federal Highways.
Scott Jenkins, Weber County Commissioner.
Joe Smoka, Mayor Immigration. Jeff, you please get closer to the mic.
Eric Burton, Mayor of West Jordan, and Mayor Ramsey. How do you get all these drivers on the tracks?
Ted Knowlton, WFRC Staff Deputy Director.
Rosie Hernandez, Wasatch Front Regional Council.
Okay, let's go around the room next.
I've got it. Bert Granberg with the WFRC Analytics Group.
Dory Johnner, Long Range Plan Group here at Wasatch Front.
Mike Sopchik, Communications with Wasatch Front.
Megan Townsend, WFRC Staff, Community and Economic Development.
Wayne Benyon, Short Range Planning, WFRC staff.
Nikki Navio, Long Range Planning, WFRC Staff.
Lauren Victor, Long Range Planning, WFRC Staff.
Josh Reynolds, WFRC Staff, Analytics.
Chris Day, WFRC Analytics.
Ben with Rich, WFRC Staff, Short Range Planning.
Hugh Van Wagenen, Council Staff.
Chrissy Dahlberg, WFRC Staff, Community and Economic Development Group.
Michaela Jordan, WFRC Staff, Community and Economic Development.
Byron Head, WFRC Staff, Community and Economic Development.
Susie Swim, WFRC Staff, Analytics Group.
Lovett Baumgartner, WFRC CFO Emeritus.
Bill Harrod, WFRC Analytics Group.
Julie Bjornstead, WFRC Long Range Planning. Kevin Wells, WFRC OrgOps.
Holly Sweeten, Office of Congressman Burgess Owens.
Rhonda Perks, Office of Congressman Chris Stewart.
NDD, WFRC staff.
And Ned Hacker with WFRC Staff.
Okay, welcome to you guys, and especially welcome to our emeritus members. It's always great to have them come. I think easier, I'm going to have Andrea read the names of the people who are online. I think it may be easier in terms of knowing who gets to go first and all that. So Andrea, will you do that, please?
Online, we have Mayor Christy Overson, Mayor Troy Walker, Mayor Robert Dandoy, Ryan Beck, Commissioner Lorraine Kamalu, Mayor Joy Petro, Mayor Karen Lang, Mayor Roger Bork, Jay Fox, Mayor John Pullman, Tammy Moody, Mayor Mark Allen, Commissioner Jim Harvey, Peter Asplund, Ben Hewitt, Councilmember Amy Winder Newton, Shane Scott, Mayor Brian Vincent, Michelle Larson, Nathan Sherpesky, Shul Bishop, Mayor Mike Wikers, Ryan Levitt, Dina Blaze, Hugh Van Wagenen, and Miranda Jones Cox.
Thanks, Andrea. And I think we have one new person, Laura Hanson.
Hi, sorry to be late. Laura Hanson. I'm with the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget.
Maybe I didn't hear it, Andrea, but I see Mayors Lang and Bork also. You said those already? Okay, terrific.
Burke.
Really happy to see them.
Did we miss anybody online whose name wasn't called? Not seeing anybody light up. So anyway, welcome everybody. It's great to have such a good turnout in the middle of the summer. So, or the end of the summer. Let's now turn to the consideration of the minutes of our meeting of May 26th. And then in addition to that, the financial statements and check registers for April, May, and June of this year, and the budget expenditure report year to date were part of our packet. So I'd like to offer those for a motion.
This is Mayor Joy Petrol. I'll make a motion to accept.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, second by Commissioner Stevenson. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those matters approved. Thank you very much. So, as those of you who have been part of this organization in the past know that every year we, as a council, set goals for this organization, and after the year is over, the fiscal year is over, which it is. We're in our new fiscal year. We evaluate that, and the team evaluates that and produces a report for us with respect to what the agency has accomplished toward those goals over the past year. And we take these goals and the responsibility of making progress toward them seriously. And I think this year actually has been a remarkable year for progress for WFRC. I know that others are going to be addressing elements of this, but I would just like to, as chair, make a remark about this. You know, communities, either or tracks or heavy rail, come up with a station area plan to basically look forward with respect to the development that they expect to see around those assets, to make sure that we as a state maximize them and accomplish the goals of really the Wasatch Choice vision to create nodes of density around them so that they get used. And really during the course of the session, this concept evolved as a kind of a solution to making sure that communities actually did that planning. And, you know, there were all kinds of tugs either way about carrots and sticks, shall we say, during that process. But WFRC and UTA actually collaborated in a really creative way to come up with a plan to enable communities to do that kind of planning that actually we were able to secure funding for that. We're able to secure a mechanism for basically people to apply for those grants, and some of them have already been awarded, and also for a review of those grants by this organization using its technical expertise to ensure that we're getting what we all desire as a state out of those plans. And this effort actually is remarkable because it was a collaboration that worked tirelessly through the night at times to get something put together, to get language, into a bill, and at the same time to compromise and negotiate through all of that to get something that actually came out of it. And I just want to say that I think that this work under this bill actually is a prime example of what this organization is capable of and how it achieves its mission. And we have the mission statement up on the wall over there. But I think that this effort actually checked all of the boxes of the mission of WFRC. WFRC was able to act as a convener to bring all these various groups together to talk about this subject during the legislative session. They were able to use their technical expertise to help fashion this, and also, more importantly, perhaps to promise that to communities in the future that might not have the staff or the horsepower to engage in the kind of planning that everybody contemplated would happen. As planners, they're going to be continuing to assist communities in executing those plans and developing them and doing the public engagement. And WFRC has already let some grants to help some of those actions start to occur, and the implementation of that, they're partners in that. So, and I also just want to say, because I know that Andrew Gruber was instrumental in all that, and he participated in burning that midnight oil. He wrote a lot of the legislation, and he helped to explain and negotiate it to all the stakeholders. Thank you, Andrew, for your work on that. Thank you to the staff of WFRC. I know you guys were working really hard at night. I was part of some of those meetings. Mayor Ramsey and I did some of that from Washington, D.C. when we were on a trip. Andrew was with us, and we didn't stop working day, night, or time zone. So thank you. I think that is just reflective of an accomplishment of the organization. And Andrew, I'll turn it over to you for the rest of that.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chair, Mayor Silvestrini. I think we have accomplished a lot, and I'll just pick up where you left off on the emphasis on the partnerships. So much teamwork, and we're happy to have been able to bring some folks together to accomplish a lot for the region. And really, that's what we want to talk about here today. You said it already, Mr. Chair, but you as a council adopted goals for this organization for fiscal year 2022. And what we're doing today, and we have prepared a report, which we're going to be sharing with all of you. We do this every year, is reporting to you on our activities and our accomplishments in working towards those goals that you established in partnership together. The report is actually arranged by the 4 goals that you laid out. They're actually the goals. You can see them on the screen in front of you. And then in the report, they're followed by a detailed completion report, it's called, which actually lists all of the activities that we engaged in. The reason we do this is because we think that reporting on our work against the goals you set for us is important as an element of accountability for us as a public agency. And also, we're really proud of the work that we've done with all of you in serving our communities and our region. So let's jump into it. I'm going to move pretty fast here. This is going to be a whirlwind tour of activities that we did over the course of the past year on the 4 goals. We'll start with goal number 1, which is to collaboratively advance the Wasatch Choice regional vision as a framework for integrating transportation, land use, and economic development to best address growth-related opportunities and challenges. And, we all know that there's no one-size-fits-all for the communities in our region. What the Wasatch Choice vision does is that it weaves together your local preferences into a regional fabric. And this Wasatch Choice vision is based on the core goals and strategies of providing transportation choices, housing options, preserving open and green and public spaces, and providing access to opportunities. Those are the goals that we adopted together. They're based on a core strategy of creating more opportunities for growth to be absorbed in centers, town and city centers, where transportation and land use and housing and economic development are all coordinated together. And as Chair Silvestrini noted, I think that the passage of HB 462 this past year was really in a lot of ways an endorsement by the legislature, by the state of that Wasatch Choice vision and the goals and the strategies. And in fact, the goals in HB 462 are specifically drawn from the Wasatch Choice vision. As the chair noted, it says that communities have to develop station area plans around their transit stations because those are great areas to absorb development. And as you noted also, we were able to negotiate this framework where local governments were able to maintain their control of local land use critically, but that we're all also working towards shared goals. And it didn't just come as a mandate. There was also, we were able to negotiate and secure $5 million from the state to help us provide assistance through WFRC and MAG, working in collaboration with UTA for the local communities. So really a big step this year. I'd like to think that the Wasatch Choice vision was also endorsed by the private sector through the grant that you all may remember that we received from Intermountain Healthcare and Zions Bank to advance our work. The League of Cities and Towns also got a similar grant. Now this vision, the centers and the goals, they're not arbitrarily determined by us and by the staff. They're based on your guidance. So every year we go out and we have workshops with you all around the region. We're going to be doing another round of them in October or November of this year. You'll hear a little more about that later in the meeting. We refined the centers. And so I'll show you a map that's on the screen here. Our analytics team worked on this. This happens to be Southwest Salt Lake County. And so in some of Mayor Ramsey's area, some of Mayor Burton's area shown on here, we refined the centers working with every community in the region to make sure that they reflect the development goals that you have and are actually feasible to implement as we go forward. We provided direct support to your communities with technical and financial resources through our Economic Development District, our Community Development Block Grant Program, and our TLC, or Transportation and Land Use Connection Program, which is a partnership, a funding partnership between WFRC, Salt Lake County, UDOT, and UTA. Since the inception of that program, we've been able to help provide assistance to 120 projects in over 60 communities, most of the communities in our region. And if you promise not to tell anybody, I'll tell you that we just found out that we're actually getting a national award for the TLC program from the American Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations for excellence in MPO coordination and partnership. It's not supposed to be public, so just don't tell anybody yet, okay? Okay. And now, just because we love looking at what's happened actually in your communities around the region, I'm going to hit a few examples of work that we've done and helped you do. In North Salt Lake, we helped to do a market study for their town center. In Bluffdale City, we helped them develop, and they just adopted an update to their general plan. In Harriman City, we helped them develop the transit corridor and land use study. In Salt Lake City, we helped them do their 300 West corridor plan and prepare zoning amendments. Further, through the CARES Act funding, we helped Tooele City with doing business training for over 100 local business owners. We helped in Morgan City for the Morgan Weaver Morgan Health Department to renovate their buildings so they can provide direct services, and that also, well, that was a CDBG project. We've provided assistance to our communities in doing work with housing. Let's see, move away, in doing housing work, and a lot of analytical and data resources for coordinating housing with transportation. What I've got here on the screen is just an example. Our team created what we call a housing suitability map for Weber County that allows communities in Weber County to identify the optimal locations for housing by selecting factors such as transportation location, childcare facilities, healthcare facilities, and job opportunities, and then use that in targeting the location of housing. We love this stuff, okay? But the whole point is that it's designed to help your communities and also help our entire region implement the Wasatch Choice vision. That's just a sampling. Goal number two is to effectively administer our ongoing plans and programs. And most of this is in our core work in transportation, which sort of starts with Utah's Unified Transportation Plan at the highest level which is a collaborative effort between the transportation agencies around the state, UDOT, UTA, all of the Metropolitan Planning Organizations, to make sure that we are together effectively and efficiently investing our dollars into transportation infrastructure. We're working towards the updated version of that Utah Unified Transportation Plan for next year, again, all together. And you're going to be hearing more about the updates for the transportation planning process a little later in this meeting. The report has some information about the benefits to our state of implementing the unified plan in economic development and in access and in air quality and in safety. I'll skip over that just for the sake of time right now. And just, I want to note to you that as we do all this work, there is so much detailed and extensive analysis and data that goes into the work that we do here. Here's just, for example, our access to opportunity map for the region. Another thing that's critical is not just data and analytics, but engagement from the public in the work that we do. We work really hard to make sure we're getting public feedback. Last year, you adopted a goal for us as an organization to promote inclusive engagement in transportation planning processes and equitable access to affordable and reliable transportation options. And so we're almost done with standing up a new Wasatch Choice Community Advisory Committee to help make sure that we're getting great input from all segments of our community. The work that we do also takes into account and factors in how our nation and there's so much innovation and change in our work right now that we have to factor into our planning. So things like external forces, including electric vehicle adoption and telecommuting, external policies like the possibility of fare-free transit and road usage charges as different financing strategies. We're continually enhancing, and I mentioned this already, the forecasting and modeling of our travel behavior and land use markets, and developing lots of maps and tools to display and analyze data, which leads me to our wildly popular Map of the Month series, where we produce information for you in maps that provide all sorts of wonderful information, and it's all online available to you and to the public. Now, we do a great job, I'm going to say, in planning for transportation, but we live in a dynamic environment, which means that sometimes we have to amend our transportation plans. We did several amendments over the course of the last year, and we were able to bring in great projects like new active transportation plans in Draper, Sandy, and in West Jordan. We were able to reflect in the first phase of the long-range transportation plan the work that will happen that UDOT is leading, of course, on I-15 in Davis County, the environmental impact study and the funding that the legislature has provided for construction work there. We also at WFRC, as you know, we allocate funding directly for projects. We award funding to communities. This year, we were able to provide funding to 43 projects of $63 million directly in your communities. This is part of the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP, which we'll be acting on. You'll have the opportunity to act on later in this meeting, $7 billion in our region in funding. And as I said already, we work on making sure we get public input. Sometimes we do it the old-fashioned way. Here's Ben out talking to residents in the field. Thanks, Ben. We funded the extension and supported the extension of 500 West in Clearfield City and Syracuse City in Davis County. We helped to advance the OGX Ogden BRT, which just earlier this morning, we were out doing the ribbon cutting on the Weber State University portion. That project is going to come online, the full BRT, next year, right? So much great stuff happening all over our region. How do we pay for all of this? Well, that sort of gets me to goal number 3, which is one of the other responsibilities and goals for WFRC is to provide subject matter expertise to federal, state, and local officials and policymakers. This was a big year in federal and state activity. This past year, we finally got adopted the new multi-year reauthorization bill for federal transportation, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That bill critically is going to deliver significant funding to Utah maybe most importantly, on formula funds, which is the majority of the bill, it will be stable and predictable with growth from last year to this year, which unfortunately a lot of that is being eaten up by inflation, but stability and predictability, and also providing millions of dollars more for us to compete for in new and expanded competitive grant programs. We worked on this together to promote this bill happening by developing shared Utah reauthorization principles. We worked with our national associations. We worked with our delegation. Mayor mentioned us going to DC. So here's some pictures of some of our meetings in DC. I'll note and express appreciation again to Senator Romney for his great work and being one of the lead negotiators on that infrastructure bill. That's the federal side. We already talked a little bit about the state side. Mayor Silvestrini, you talked about the work on HB 462 and station area plans, and the League of Cities and Towns did an incredible job working on that, led the other elements of that legislation as well with our partners. With Senator Harper's leadership, we were able to expand housing and transit reinvestment zones. So allowed at Front Runner and now at Trax and BRT also. And we had another historic year for state investment in multimodal transportation infrastructure. About $1.2 billion in additional one-time funds for state road projects and for transit and for active transportation. And I'm happy to note that the funding invested by the state and for state road projects is designed to advance the projects that have come through our unified transportation planning process and Carlos, the Transportation Commission prioritization process. It's respecting and valuing the work that we all do here together. As Mayor Ramsey will no doubt remember, funding was set aside for growth planning, for the AOGs, and we worked so much with GOPB, with Laura and Sophia on promoting that funding for technical planning assistance, as well as funding to GOPB for our statewide growth conversation that we will talk a little bit about later. And that gets me to goal number 4 of 4 is to strive for organizational excellence. We have maintained our budget stability and used our resources prudently and efficiently. It is critical to us and to me that we operate with accountability and transparency. We're always striving to be prudent and efficient in our expenditures. We continued our more than 25-year streak of unqualified audit opinions, even going through a transition of CFOs. And here's sort of the last part of this. We created and maintained, we work to have a work environment that maximizes the health, happiness, and productivity of an excellent staff. And God, our staff is so great. I'll tell you, we just a little while ago, WFRC was with the work of our wellness committee was given 2 awards, the Innovation Award and the Community Wellbeing Award from the statewide PHP Wellness Committee for the work that they do looking out for our whole team. It's really nice to be able to be back in the office. We're back in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so we took a new group photo. And here's what I want to do, if you'll indulge me for a minute here, is I want to highlight a few folks on the staff for you. All of them are dedicated and smart and hardworking, but perhaps most importantly, they care about our community and its future. And I'm just so proud to work with this team. So let me highlight a few people. We have 2 new staff that I want to introduce you to. So Byron, where's Byron? Byron Head. Byron, welcome. Byron is the newest member of the Community and Economic Development team. He's going to be providing hands-on assistance to communities focusing on station area plans and also supporting our TLC program. He's from Nashville, Tennessee, but he got his master's in city and metropolitan planning from the University of Utah. He's happy to be back here in Utah after working in California and at the Tennessee Department of Transportation. He's going to be working with Megan, who is our Community and Economic Development Director. Megan's not new, as you know, but I do just want to note that she just recently it was announced that she's getting the Young Alumni Award from the University of Utah College of Architecture and Planning. Very cool. And then, thank you, Chris. Chris Day here, welcome, Chris. Chris has joined our analytics group as a modeler and data scientist, which is like the coolest name for a job title. He's finishing up his master's degree in civil engineering at BYU. Chris and his wife and their baby live in Orem, so maybe now he can get on the front runner at the new Vineyard station and he can travel here as he's doing. Chris, welcome. Now, I also want to acknowledge several of our staff that have been with us are having anniversaries. Is Chad not here? Chad is not here? Chad is not here. Okay. Chad, then I'm going to save Chad for a future meeting. Okay, because I want him to be here. So I'm going to turn right to Ted Knowlton. Ted Knowlton, our deputy director and lead planner, is celebrating his 10 years at Wasatch Front Regional Council. You all know that Ted is a real leader in this field. He's the former multi-term president of the Utah chapter of the American Planning Association. He was the chair of the North Salt Lake City Planning Commission until he was tapped to be a member of the city council. So now he's one of you. He's forward-thinking. He's deep-thinking. He generates ideas and advises all of us on how we navigate the challenges of growth. So Ted Knowlton, 10 years. And now Ned Hacker over there in the yellow is celebrating 100 years at WFRC. Actually, Ned actually is now, I'm sad to say, retiring after 25 years of service here at WFRC. Ned right now is the director of operations and special studies for us, but he's done it all in his years at WFRC. Long-range planning, analytics, project manager. And Ned is an amazing person. No job is too big or too small. He has such a sense of duty and responsibility in the way he approaches his work. I'm sure that reflects his time at West Point and his whole first career in the military. He is a wonderful husband, father and grandfather and colleague and friend. And he will be sorely missed here at WFRC. And Ned, we have an award that we want to give to you. Okay. And it says, presented to Ned Hacker from the Wasatch Front Regional Council. Thank you for over 25 years of dedicated and exemplary service. Ned, thank you so much. Thank you. Now, everybody was standing. I'm going to ask all of our staff to stay standing, stand up, all of our team, and I want to ask if we here in the council, can we please give our whole team a round of applause for all of their work? And now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn this around and say to our members, thank you. It is an incredible privilege for us to be able to do this work that we do, helping your communities. And we know that you have the hard jobs. You're the ones that put yourself on the ballot and are out in the community, and you have to beg people to give you the job again, term after term. It is honestly an honor to work with you. We're deeply, deeply appreciative of the opportunity we have to work with all of you. So let's all give them, staff, a round of applause. Thank you. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation on this.
Thank you, Andrew. And Ned, on behalf of the council, our best. And thank you for the service that you've given to us. And we really appreciate it. Wish you the best in your next endeavors. So, and what Andrew said, I think we all appreciate. This is a marvelous organization, great staff, and all of us that have had an opportunity to work with these guys know that they're experts and also helpful. So can't say enough. Next thing we want to do is get an update on the work of the Utah Unified Economic Opportunity Commission. And we have Director Braceras here, who is your co-chair, right? And we asked Mike Schultz, but he wouldn't interrupt his Lake Powell vacation to put you on the spot. So I'm going to ask you, and then also Mayor Ramsey is a member of that, representing the League of Cities and Towns. So maybe you guys can tag team and give us an update on the work of the commission.
I saw Mayor Ramsey look up at that one. Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I am a member of the commission, and I'm also co-chair, if that term is appropriate, because there's three co-chairs, myself, Representative Schultz, and Senator Cullimore are the co-chairs of the Growth and Transportation Priorities. It's a working group, and there's three subgroups underneath that working group. One is Regional Growth Alignment Subgroup. The other one's the Infrastructure Investment Visioning Subgroup, and then Transportation Funding Subgroup. They've all been meeting, it feels like at least once a week for the entire summer, doing a lot of work. And I would say the storming process is coming to an end, and we're starting to try to put together, each of the subgroups is starting to put together what they want to recommend to the working group. The working group will meet next week, I think it's Thursday, where we're going to start to get reports back from the subgroups. Then the working group will have to take that, kind of massage it, and then make decisions on what's going to be presented to the full unified commission in the September meeting. And so it's a whole laundry list within each one of these subgroups. Happy to discuss anything if anyone has questions on it, but honestly, I don't have any of this stuff in front of me today. We did have a infrastructure investment visioning subgroup this morning that I participated in, and they were looking at, three subjects. The chair, Ty, wanted to look at three subjects. One, the state infrastructure bank. As you may know, the department and the Transportation Commission administer an SIB. It's been in existence since the mid-90s, and it's really a loan program that we administer it to local governments. And it had been just for transportation purposes, and it could be for transit and road. In 2021, it was amended to include water and sewer. And so what Ty was interested in exploring is, could this be used to help provide help in developing new areas, opening up new areas that might help increase the housing supply, which will then, with additional supply, help to make housing more affordable. And so we had a robust discussion around that. The statute's in place and it could meet the needs of what the chair was looking for. It's just needs more capitalization. We expect to have issuing 2 loans in September, which will just about deplete the bank. And so I think where they're going to lean is a little more investment in that area. And then a pretty robust discussion around, I'll call it the unified plan, better understanding of fiscal constraint. So as you all work to put together the long range plan, you have this list of needs, and you have to kind of sort what are the priorities of those needs, but you also have to slice it in ways that it's reasonably able to be funded. So it's a fiscally constrained long range plan. There wasn't, I don't think, a good comprehensive understanding of the difference between projects in the 3 phases versus those that are in, I call it phase 4, the illustrative phase. And so we had a good discussion around that. And I think they left with an understanding that the mechanisms are in place for the funding agency. So if it's, say that's the Transportation Commission, if the priority was decided that it was a project that was in the 2nd phase, but the MPO had decided it was a 1st phase need, but funding constraint pushed it in the 2nd phase, the mechanism in place to pull that project into the 1st phase and fund it. They wanted to make sure there was that flexibility to fund, quote, priorities, even if those priorities, you guys weren't able to fund it in that 1st phase. So I think we're in a good place on that, and I don't think there's going to be additional recommendations coming out of that. And then the other discussion was around, Julie, what was it? PIDs? PIDs, yes. Terrible acronym. And the chair was interested. Right now, it's something that a tool the communities can use. The chair was interested if it was something that could maybe help private developers. And so there was discussion around that. I think more discussion has to take place. That's probably deeper than you wanted to go, Mr. Chairman, so I apologize for that, but available for any questions on it. It's a lot of work, a lot of people. When you think about, what makes Utah special, it's people from across the board, private industry, local governments, county governments, state government, some help with the federal government. So it's a pretty dynamic process.
Thank you, and I appreciate putting you on the spot on that because Representative Schultz was supposed to be.
Yeah, I owe
So,
Mike.
anyway, any questions for Carlos? Mayor Ramsey, do you have anything to add to that, or?
Just to say thank you. There is a lot of work, and I think the Unified Economic Opportunity Commission and the working groups and the subcommittees of the working groups, although these meetings are all the time. And there's a couple people in this room that I know are at these meetings all the time. It really is a comprehensive effort, bringing as many people. I think it's more than I've ever maybe seen, bringing a lot of people together to try to answer some of these difficult questions as we look down the road the next 10 years for the state of Utah. And transportation funding is high on the list of priorities to try to figure out. So thank you to everyone who's part of this and everything else, right? We're looking at housing and water and all the things, everything that matters. But transportation funding is high on the list of trying to figure that out as we move forward. And thank you for all the great work that's taking place, everybody here who's participating.
Thanks, Mayor. And so I know Andrew represents WFRC on the Growth and Transportation Subcommittee. Do you have anything to add?
Just that, as Carlos already noted, there's a lot of work happening. Nothing has gelled yet. We're in the recommendations to recommendations stage. And we'll work to keep you informed about developments that are happening that are relevant to WFRC. It has been so sort of amorphous up until this point, or so spidered, that we haven't been pumping out to you like this meeting happened and this was discussed. It's just sort of too much there. If anybody wants to talk about it, we'd be happy to. But as things start to gel a little bit more with actually going back to the Growth and Transportation working group, we'll plan to start sending out more information to you about here are the items that are being discussed. And it's a long way to, this is just about making recommendations to the legislature for consideration. So there's a long way, and everybody will have the opportunity to have their voices heard and participate in the process before we're a long ways off from any final decisions being made.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And, I think this process is just kind of reflective of kind of the way that we're approaching our growth challenges in Utah. And frankly, it's bringing all these various stakeholders together and having them talk about these things early on, I think will result in better policy in the long run by factoring that in. And I can tell you that in my interactions with leaders in other communities, other areas, other regions, even from the National Association of Regional Councils, from the group that we entertained here from the Sacramento MPO, and even from our congressional delegation. We've been meeting with representatives of our congressional delegations, Senator Lee's office and others. This is a unique thing that happens in Utah. It's not happening other places. We hear stories about, and Andrew can talk about this, and Cameron Deal can talk about this, that people say, we don't get to talk to our governor. Our governor doesn't talk to municipalities or counties about these kinds of things, or we don't get to talk to our Department of Transportation. They don't even answer our calls. And so the fact that we are engaged in this kind of thing, I think, is a credit to our collaboration in Utah and the things we have on the wall here, the Wasatch Choice Plan. And frankly, it gives me a great deal of hope that we are going to have a great strategy to address the challenges that we are faced. So, okay, let's next see if there's any public comment. Andrea, I don't know if you've heard of any. Is there anybody in the room that has public comment or online? I thought maybe we had one, but she's going the wrong way. So then if we don't have any public comment, we'll close that, and we'll turn next to Commissioner Jim Harvey to give us a report from the Transportation Coordinating Committee.
Thank you, Mayor Jeff. Appreciate that. Listen, if you could simply refer to your materials that were included in your packet for this. These are some modifications that Transcom's approved in their June meeting. Before we start, are there any questions based on the materials that were sent out in advance? Hearing none, go ahead.
Just one quick clarification that you're talking just about item 4A.
4A is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's go on to our action items, and the great Ben Wolfrich will give us some, he's going to talk about review the two projects in the recreational trails program. So if you could do that, Ben, I'd appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Happy to do so. Hello, everyone. Good to be with you this afternoon. And I appreciate the input or the comments here by the commissioner. Because we have 3 items on the transportation improvement program, I'd just like to identify or individualize each one of those if we can. So 4A was a report on the board modification by Transcom in their meeting last June. And then 4B will be a board action that this body needs to take action on. And in 4C will have an opportunity to approve the draft or approve the new 23-28 tip. All 3 significant events for the transportation improvement program. And as Commissioner Harvey identified in the meeting materials is a copy of the resolution, as well as the tables that identify those projects that are part of that board modification. But before us today is another request to modify the 2022-2027 tip. This is the 9th amendment since this body approved the 22-27 tip last August. In your meeting materials is a copy. There's 2 tables, and in those tables identifies the projects we'll review in a very quick manner. First project that's identified on that table is a project in Magna. This is on 2820 South. This project is a sidewalk project or a safe routes to school project between 7736 West to 7440 West. This will construct sidewalk, curb and gutter on the north side of the road, allowing the students and children, anyone else that happens to be going along the street to be out of the traffic lanes. There's also, not only is there an elementary school, there's a charter school, and in this will provide access to the future Ritter Trail, as well as that active transportation corridor that'll be coming up through and along the Mountain View corridor. As they were working through the designs, it was identified that because of cost increase, inflation on labor and materials, that there was a shortfall of some funds, and it was requested that we program an additional $815,000 in TAP funds, and in Magna will bring $300,000 in additional local funds, bringing a total project cost of a little more than $2 million. The next project is a project, this is up in Morgan. This is a UDOT project. It's a Devil Slide Bridge. It's to replace the structure that carries 5800 east over the Weber River. The reason it's called, there's the location of the bridge. Devil Slide is right there in the blue. If you've never had the opportunity to travel up 84 and take a look, there it is on the south side of 84. But the bridge that we're looking at right here is a structure that's over 80 years old. And much of the bridge deck, as well as the curb and the parapets, are wearing out. It's had a lot of years of use, and oftentimes the flow levels of the river are up and over the bridge. This bridge was initially to advertise back in 2020, but because of schedule conflicts with the Union Pacific, as well as the cement company that's right off to the north, it was delayed. And so then it advertised in 2021, and the engineer's estimate was low. And so additional funds was placed on the project and then re-advertised. And the request is that we add an additional 1.1+ million to the project for a total project cost of $7.7+ million, so the project can advertise. The next projects that we have to look at is on the next table here. This is the recreational trails program. So the federal recreational trails program was authorized by Congress back in 1991, and it's been continued through our current Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, or the IIJA. The funds may be used to provide and maintain trails for motorized and non-motorized use, including trail side and trailhead facilities, and also provisions to facilitate access for those with disabilities. These projects are selected and administered through the Utah State Parks and Recreations Department for the motorized and non-motorized use. And these funds are apportioned to the state each year, and Utah receives about 1.6 million annually. Along the Wasatch Front, there were 5 projects totaling a little more than $1 million in the WFRC area. There's 17 projects totaling more than 1.4+ million in the federal aid, but the local match brought 3.9+ million, giving us a total program of almost $7 million. Those are the projects before you for this board modification today.
Great. Thank you, Ben. Any questions on this? If not, Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion to approve the resolution to modify the 2022 through 2027 TIP.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a second from Commissioner Newton. So any discussion? Not all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner.
I could continue, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
The next item is an action for the 2023 through 2028 Transportation Improvement Program, which includes really billions of dollars in transportation investment into our region. Transcom's had the opportunity to review the TIP and given comments by the public. Ben, will you take a minute and summarize those comments and things?
Thank you, Commissioner. I will. So as many of you are thinking or feeling that summer's almost over, well, we have action on 4C. This is an exciting opportunity for us. With the approval of the 23-28 Transportation Improvement Program, that opens the door for billions of dollars to take place within the Wasatch Front area. So the 2023-28 TIP, as we're familiar, is the program that brings the highway, the transit, and the active transportation projects to happen. They're capital improvements. There are things that start turning the dirt. These are the projects in the urban areas from essentially Brigham City all the way down to Utah County. It's the 2 urban areas, the Salt Lake West Valley urban area, the Ogden-Layton urban area. And it's funded with the federal, state, and local dollars. And it's for all of the cities and the counties, UDOT and UTA. It implements a long-range plan. Without the TIP, we couldn't get the projects that have been identified and worked hard over the many years in the long-range plan. So it implements our highway and transit and active transportation projects. It helps us meet the short-range needs. It also provides for the maintenance of our existing system. These projects are new construction, widening, rehab, maintenance, safety, ITS, which is intelligent transportation systems, transit, O&M, operating and maintenance, and a pedestrian and bike. But words say a lot, but a picture says a lot more. So some of our widening or new construction projects in a quick manner. Project on US 89. Project on I-80. Bangor Highway improvements. And the West Davis corridor. These are just a few of those large projects that are happening along the Wasatch Front that are capacity driven, that are identified in the Transportation Improvement Program. But we also have the rehab and maintenance projects. Those projects that don't necessarily bring a ribbon cutting, but are critical for our system. We have the operations and safety projects. They help us so that we're able to go home at night when the work's done. And then we have our transit projects, the capital improvements and the operations and the preventative maintenance that takes place. And then we have our active transportation projects or our bicycle and pedestrian projects that are identified that allow us to commute and also to recreate along the Wasatch Front. So these projects represent hundreds of millions of dollars, thousands of jobs, the economic growth and development along the the Wasatch Front within the boundaries of our own communities, the mobility and the access, preservation of life, and as well as to promote the quality of life that we've become accustomed to. The tip must be financially constrained. It must conform to air quality. It must be reviewed by the public and approved by the regional council. Those top three bullets have all been accomplished, and we're here today to be approved by the regional council. When we went out for public comment, we displayed and brought for public review those projects that were recommended and approved by this body. Also, all of the projects that were identified and prepared by the UDOT and those by UTA and the transit, and then of course our air quality conformity. Could we conform? We turned people towards our website. We brought them into the transportation improvement program. Our analytics group developed a wonderful, amazing interactive map that enables us to click on a map and or click on a project and identify and then leave a comment or look and review. In your meeting materials is a summary of those comments received, in addition to a list of all the project comments, well, all the comments that were received. Now, it's important that we know in the summary, it highlights a few things pertaining to our bicycle facilities, our pedestrian facilities. It also talks highly about our transit and a desire to have more transit. Some of our funds dictate the type of projects that we're able to build, but all of our projects are becoming a lot more interactive. We're getting a lot more components of our transportation identified in every project. Our transit projects will have some of our first last mile active transportation components. Our road projects with reconstruction or widening bring with it active transportation or transit enhancements. And so all of these projects that have been identified and those that have had comment made to them, we will respond to them. In our summary, we give general responses. And then we're working with each of the UDOT regions as well as UDOT Central and with UTA to respond to each of those comments that we received. So what happens when we receive a public comment? Well, we document that comment and then we take that comment to the proper project management meeting. And then when appropriate, where appropriate, that action is interacted or is implemented into the project. I've got a few examples just to tell you. So there's a project in Salt Lake County. This is the design build on I-80, the big one that we just saw some pictures of. Due to the public comment and the input that was received, the structure on 1300 East and 1700 East, and the picture we showed in there was 1700 East, was widened to accommodate additional bike traffic and pedestrian traffic on that bridge. Another project in Salt Lake County is on I-15, the northbound on-ramp on 5300 South. The project will remove a yield condition and create an acceleration lane, and that was created by the general public. That project has been awarded and construction is pending. Another project in Tooele is a project design. Due to public comment, the project will add a barrier down the median from Neal's Junction to Sunset Lane to eliminate crossover crashes and improve the safety. Again, another improvement that was brought about by public comment review. So the public comment is important and it's critical to the overall development and improvement of the transportation improvement program. But this is the document we have before you right now for your review and for your approval.
Thank you, Ben. I got to tell you, for those of you on the council, Ben's presentations are phenomenal. It's the best motion picture show you can ever go to. Why do you need to pay the people at Cinemark when you just call up Ben, tell him to play a video? But it's just incredible. Listen, are there any questions after that presentation?
So Commissioner Jeff,
Please.
I just like to commend Ben and the staff and also the members of Transcom for considering public comment. I know actually the public comment that you talked about in terms of making sure that 17th East bridges wide enough for bicycles is a super important improvement to that project, given the crossing of the Parley's Trail there at the east side of Sugar House Park. So I think that's just a great example of where we learn from public comment and why it's so important. So thank you.
And Commissioner Harvey,
Yes.
Lorraine Kamalu, as you know.
Who?
I just wanted to say the same thing that Mayor Silvestrini just said, that several years ago was attending some of the open house and public comment opportunities for the 89 project. And there was so much, that was a hard sell for a lot of folks. And there were some amazing things, not just clamor, that came out of those meetings, some really good ideas that were both considered and implemented. And, we're seeing it before our eyes, and it's kind of cool to know that some of those changes came from the people who live right along there.
Yeah,
So,
thank you, Lorraine.
Yeah.
That's great. Any other comments or questions? To that, then I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution approving the 2023-2028 Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP. Mr. Chair.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Carlton.
Can I just interject briefly? Commissioner Harvey, can I just confirm that your motion includes adopting the corresponding air quality conformity finding?
Thank you. I missed that in my notes, and I would like to include that in my motion, that it also includes the corresponding air quality conformity finding. Thank you.
I was pretty sure he missed it. So yeah, second.
So I think the second goes for the amended motion or something. Anyway, any further discussion to this? If not, then will you please signify approval by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. And Commissioner Harvey, I think you've got item 4D as well.
I've got item 4D. And so when the TIP is submitted to the FHWA and the FTA, the regional council is required to certify it along with the UDOT that the regional planning process complies with the federal regulation. At our Tramscom meeting last week, the staff reviewed that with us and the content of this certification. Does anyone in the room or online have any questions about the self-certification process?
Not seeing any. You're off the hook.
Well, I really wasn't going to be on the hook because I was going to turn the time over to Wayne Benyon, but thank you. There's not a lot of hooks that'll hold me, but I'll make this motion that the regional council approve the resolution certifying the transportation planning process, Mr. Chair.
We have a second from Commissioner Stevenson. So is there any discussion? All right, then all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. So now let's turn to Mayor Ramsey for a report on the Regional Growth Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. We had a really great Regional Growth Committee meeting last week. Today, we're going to update on the 3 things that we discussed, which all implement closely or relate to our Wasatch Choice Vision, which is our shared framework for coordinating transportation with land use and economic development here across the region. First, we're going to give an update on the Regional Transportation Plan, which is the transportation component of the Wasatch Choice Vision. Second, we've got a great discussion, which I'm so grateful that we are having on Utah's statewide growth conversation, and we so appreciate Laura Hansen being here. And third, we'll do an update on the station area planning program created under House Bill 462 to help cities implement our Wasatch Choice Vision. So first, Regional Transportation Plan update. WFRC has been working with UDOT and UTA and our cities and counties to develop our updated RTP, and we're well into that process. We're just about ready to start having our meetings this fall in October and November, where we're going to hold these transportation workshops around the region and prepare to wrap that process up. We have Jory Johnner here with us, and Jory's our long range planning manager, and we're going to let him give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll keep this short and sweet. Megan, I believe, will be following me up after this presentation. All right. The Wasatch Choice Vision Don't think anybody here, this is the first time you've heard of it. Reminder, three-legged stool, economic development, land use, tied to transportation. The regional transportation plan is the transportation leg of that stool. Reminder also, it's multimodal, roads, transit, active transportation, tied to the land use. We updated on a 4-year cycle. It's financially constrained, so it's not just a wish list of projects, and it must conform to our air quality conformity budgets that we're given. We not only look out 30 years, but we identify priorities within 10-year phases is what we call them. Made mention 4-year cycle. We are in the 3rd year. In about 9 months from now, we will be bringing a draft plan to you all. So 4 more council meetings, 3 after this one. Over the last couple of years, we've looked at external forces and policies. We've drafted a preferred scenario with your help, and we've identified needs, the priorities of when projects are needed over the last couple of years. I'll go into just very high detail on that. These are the 22 external forces and policies we reviewed a couple of years ago. A couple of these got embedded into our travel demand model and impact directly the regional transportation plan. And also a few of these policies and forces are being studied as we move forward into our, not just only finishing this planning horizon, but into our next planning horizon. You can see all those in the yellow. Those include the zero fare transit, the local street modifications, parking studies kicking off. So these weren't just to look at and highlight which ones we wanted to improve into this plan, but they'll be continued to be looked at, not just in this plan, but future plans as we move forward. The preferred scenario and phasing process, as you can see here, we identify those needs first. When are the projects needed? Based on the projects that were identified needed by 2050. Then we assess the financial constraints to that. I'll get into a tiny bit of detail in a little bit. The phasing buckets, and has been made mention, phase 1 is really where the implementation takes place, and almost all of the funding sources around our region look to the regional transportation plan for implementation and programming. So our needs phasing, we reached out to your planners and engineers on the phasing. We took comments. We received almost 300 comments on all 3 modes of projects. As you can see here, active transportation took the lead in the most amount of comments. Hugh's been busy reaching out, but we did a lot of one-on-one on these projects. We worked very closely with UDOT and UTA staff. Lauren and Nikki have been helping out really good with those and coordinating our priorities. We then move into this summer financial constraint. And so that's assessing how much money we have and how much we can afford. And to do that, we work on a statewide financial model. So that's with all the other metropolitan planning organizations across the state. The other 3, we work with UDOT and UTA, multimodal, road transit, active transportation. We look at growth rates of every single source of funding that goes towards transportation. We updated our project costs and the operating expenses. We looked at any new funding sources that we thought were reasonable between now and 2050. We included in new funding sources that hadn't been around in our previous plan, for instance, the Transportation Investment Fund, active transportation, and the TTIF, first last mile. And we incorporated the new federal money through the IIJA within this model. So it's all encompassing model. And to no surprise, as you can see here on the summary, there's about $35 billion of transportation capital within the Wasatch Front area, and only about $24 billion of available funding. And all 3 modes are in the same boat with needs and projected revenues into the future. So little teaser, we'll get into more of this detail in the workshops that Mayor Ramsey mentioned, but I'm not gonna plan going into any more detail on that today.
Jory, I'll just quickly note that the road number is state road and local road. It's both of them.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew, both. And it includes anything that's programmed. So it's not just the future plan, but what's also been programmed and planned to be built in the next few years. We move into public comment and final adoption this fall and into next spring. So we will hold some workshops. I'll I'll show you a snip of the dates. Hopefully everybody in this room has received their invitation. Those went out earlier this week. We're still working with our unified plan partners, completing the unified transportation plan. We'll go to public comment in January, February timeframe with that adoption May of 2023. So here are the workshop dates. As you can see, there are 8 workshops across the region, 1 in Box Elder, 2 in Weber County, 2 in Davis County, and 3 in Salt Lake County. We work with all the local communities, UDOT, UTA come to this, and we invite mayors, city council, planning commission, city managers, economic development planners, engineers to the meeting, and we want your input at these meetings. Andrew, I can see you.
And we're also going to extend the invitation to our local legislators so they can be shoulder to shoulder with you in looking at the needs for your communities.
Yes, and if you did not receive an invitation, please let us know. We'll make sure we get that on the calendar. It did not include a location. They're planned to be in person this year. In the past 2 workshops, we've done them virtually. So come hang out with us, stand around a map, grab a Sharpie, and give us your input. With that, Mayor, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Jory. Appreciate that. Would you also mention for our friends, like I'm looking at Mayor Wynn here from Tooele, and I'm like, would you mention
Yes.
that there are a couple not listed there that are still, they are being scheduled?
Yes, Tooele and Morgan counties fall outside of our urbanized area. UDOT planning has been working, as you can see on the map, on their long range plan rural dialogue meetings. So we've hosted 2 of those meetings in our office. And so I would expect that UDOT will continue to coordinate with the 2 counties and then also through the rural planning organization for both of those counties also can provide input.
Can I elaborate on that slightly? We always love doing the workshops in Tooele and Morgan. We just custom fit them to the needs of those 2 counties because they are different.
Special. That was like, yeah, jinx or something. Well, special. Yeah, it's good. Now, I just wanted to make sure that they understood as well. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, second, we have the opportunity to be involved in a statewide conversation about growth. It's something that we've looked forward to and hoped for some time as we continue to grow as the fastest growing state in the nation. And a conversation with residents statewide is no small task. It's a big deal to take that on, but it's something that I'm a big fan of this idea and appreciate that this is going to happen and the legislative funding to go with it to help make it happen. So the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget is leading this effort in collaboration with Wasatch Front Regional Council and other key partners. And the effort, the goals here really are to inform the residents about our shared plans. I think there's a lot of people who don't have very much information, who really don't know at all that there's a lot of plans in place. So to try to help share that information with the residents across the state, including the Wasatch Choice Vision and Utah's Unified Transportation Plan, and also to ask residents for their ideas. I appreciate, Lorraine, that you brought up, Commissioner, a little earlier about the benefit of input back on 89. Is that what you said it was? Yeah. To ask residents for their ideas on really how to address growth. The outcome will inform policy big moves that Utah can take to help accommodate this growth. And Lara Hansen is the woman who has been tasked with overseeing this huge, significant project that will have generational outcomes. So we appreciate Lara being here from GOPB, and she's going to give us an overview of this effort and how we can all be engaged. The goal here is for all of us to be engaged as we strive to understand really what is the most important thing that residents from our communities need to hear from us during this conversation. We want to hear from them, and we want to make sure that we are giving them the information that they need, that they want. With that, we'll turn it over to Lara and ask you to take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Mayor. Well, first of all, while I may be tasked with sort of managing this at a high level, it's very much a team effort. We have been collaborating with a lot of really great partners, including Wasatch Front Regional Council, the League of Cities and Towns, UAC, Envision Utah, the Gardner Policy Institute, Utah Land Use Institute, and many, many more. We've got staff from lots of different organizations collaborating with us on this. And last but not least, I also want to really thank the legislature for helping fund this effort. I see Senator Harper on the line, and I just want him and others to know how much we really appreciate this opportunity to reach Utahns. So as you all know, we're growing really rapidly, and a lot of Utahns are feeling some uneasiness about the growth. We know as folks that are in these conversations regularly that there are different possible futures that Utah could take, and that we get to be in the driver's seat, and we can shape what our futures look like. As the mayor mentioned, the outcomes of this effort are a few fold. First, we really just want to connect with the hearts and the minds of Utahns, help them understand or help understand what's important to Utahns and ways that we can preserve those things. We want to move beyond just development pattern discussions and really focus on those policy moves that we can implement to ensure that we're headed in the right direction. We want to identify some accountability metrics against which we can measure whether we're accomplishing our goals. And we want to do some education as well. I think there's a misperception among the public that, let's just stop inviting people to Utah. Let's just close the doors. No more growth. We're good. And that's not reality, right? We can't do that. And so setting some baseline growths or facts, growth is not new. We've been growing for a long time. We can't just stop growing, and community design in the way that we grow matters. And the mayor mentioned this already too, but this is a different kind of process. Some of you may be thinking, well, we've got the Wasatch Choice Vision. Do we need to do this again? We've done Your Utah, Your Future. The goal here is not to create a new vision or a new plan. We want to illustrate how these existing plans land within future different growth scenarios, how the public can be aware of these and understand that they can participate in the process and shape the direction that we're going. We're trying to avoid map-based development pattern-oriented scenarios in favor of more local visualizations and profiles of different community types. So I can visualize my neighborhood as a suburb of Salt Lake City and see, okay, what would it look like with a few more residents? What would, what are the different ways that we can grow? And we really want to focus on listening to the public at the local level. We have a lot of these discussions at a policy level. The Unified Economic Opportunity Commission is one of those. These meetings are one of those. We don't have a lot of opportunities to visit with the public at this level, aside from your local county council and planning commission meetings, city council meetings. So we're really excited about this. There are many opportunities for you all to engage in the planning process. In fact, we started just this morning with some meetings up in Weber County, and tomorrow we'll be in Davis County, and then Salt Lake County, Tooele, and Box Elder are all scheduled later this fall. So we'll have a chance to reach your communities as well, and then all of those off the Wasatch Front as well. So we're really looking forward to participating and so interested in the feedback that we get from these engagement efforts. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Laura. Andrew, did you have anything you wanted to add?
We've been talking internally and using the phrase workshop fatigue. And I just want to be clear that what Laura is talking about right now, the workshops are broad discussion about the whole range of growth issues, and really important to bring stakeholders together to work together around growth issues. That is distinct from the more focused workshops that Jory was talking about just a few minutes ago, which are transportation specific and are smaller geographies. We look at this as a glass is half full. It's really terrific that there's so many opportunities for us to come together to work on behalf of our communities, but we understand there can be some calendar confusion. So if you have any questions about any of this and what is the purpose of one or the other, just ask any of us and we're happy to work with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, we've got one more item to update.
Hey.
Thank you. Okay. The third item from this Regional Growth Committee report is an update on our station area planning per HB 462. We've talked a lot about the new station area plan element of last session's big housing bill, HB 462, and WFRC has a big role, and we share that role, especially with UTA and MAG. There's a lot of partners that are part of this, but UTA and MAG are also strong partners with what we're doing here. We have Megan Townsend here, WFRC's Director of Community and Economic Development. She's going to give us a progress update. And as you'll see from Meg, the pieces are in place for WFRC and UTA to work together with communities on station area planning. Things are moving forward. So Meg's got a lot of good updates for us.
Thank you, Mayor Ramsey. Mayor Silvestrini did a good job of setting this up at the beginning of the meeting during the activities and accomplishments report item. During the 2022 legislative session, as all of you know, there was a lot of talk about how to address growth and how to address the housing affordability issue in our state. And during that conversation, the transit stations, the robust transit system that we have throughout our region, became a topic of conversation, that those transit stations would be a good place to absorb some of that growth and help chip away at this housing crisis that we're having. And so WFRC worked with our partners. We worked with state legislators, with our regional and local partners, UTA, the league, and private sector developers to find a balanced approach that values the local land use expertise, the local land use authority that your cities have and incorporates the principles of our Wasatch Choice Vision. So that approach became part of House Bill 462, the overall housing affordability bill. Once that bill was passed, we started working with partners to roll up our sleeves and get ready to help you do that work, to get ready to help you do station area plans all throughout the transit system. So we're ready to do that. We're ready to help you do your station area planning. I'll actually be able to announce the very first round of technical assistance awards today. But first, I want to do a quick overview of station area plans and their requirements. Thanks. Okay, so the station area plan goals, these look pretty familiar. These align very much with our Wasatch Choice Vision. They are to increase the availability and affordability of housing, to promote sustainable environmental conditions, enhance access to opportunities, and increase transportation options and connections, choices and connections. So these goals then filter into the station area plans and the components of those plans. There's 5 key components. The station area plans need to have a vision that speaks to those goals. Needs to have a map, and that map needs to cover the station area radius that's half a mile around fixed guideway trail, the transit. Oh, sorry, that's half a mile around rail, a half mile radius, and a quarter mile around fixed guideway bus rapid transit. I blurred those two together. Station area plans need to have a 5-year implementation plan, what the city's gonna do to accomplish this, the station area plan. They need to have an explanation of how the 4 objectives are met, and they need to involve the public and key stakeholders. That includes MPOs, UTA, the public, businesses, property owners, et cetera. Okay, so now on to technical assistance, how we're going to get this done. So the working with GOEO, the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, working with UTA and the Mountain Land Association of Governments, WFRC will be able to provide station area plan technical assistance to your city. So we have $5 million from GOEO over 2 years. The applications will be reviewed by those partners, and awards will be made roughly every couple of months. It's available online now on a rolling basis, and our first deadline for those applications was July 18th. So we have our first round of awards today, 5 projects in the WFRC area receiving technical assistance. Okay, so here are our 5 projects. This is the first round. They're awarded. We're helping these communities get started now. They are the Pleasant View Frontrunner Station Area Plan, the Roy Frontrunner Station Area Plan. Murray and Mill Creek will be working together. It's great to see on the Murray North Station. Midvale City will be working on 2 stations within their city proper, the Midvale Fort Union Station and the Midvale Center Station. And then West Jordan and Midvale will be, yay, a little excitement, I love it. West Jordan and Midvale will be working together on 3 stations, and I'm going to highlight those a little bit. This is the largest project we awarded in the WFRC area. Okay, so this project, and Mayor Burton could probably do this better, but I'll run through the details of this. There's the 3 stations here, West Jordan Center Station, Historic Gardner Station, and Bingham Junction stations are all part of this project. There's the station areas kind of in that small picture up on the right-hand side. But what I want you to see is that the cities are already doing a lot of analysis. The city staffs have come together. They've got the existing conditions kind of outlined, and they have a pretty good understanding of what the barriers are at these stations and what the opportunities are. These 3 station areas will have all of their requirements for under HB 462 fulfilled. And the cities will have this great cohesive plan that crosses their municipal boundaries. Transit-oriented development doesn't necessarily stop at the boundary, right? This project will begin as soon as we can get it off and running, and we're excited to get that moving. The Mountain Land Association of Governments projects will be announced very shortly. There's some projects that will be awarded in that area as well. We were able to award $910,000 in just the WFRC area this go around. There's still plenty of money to help you with all of your station area planning needs as well. Finally, I just want to remind everybody that the WFRC's second role in station area planning is certifying these station area plans. This is a fitting role for WFRC because we're principally local governments. We're a body of local governments. So this is peer review for these station area plans. Back in May, this committee adopted the policy for station area planning and how we're going to do that. I just want you all to know that we're making progress. We've uploaded a little bit of a worksheet online so your city staff can go through and kind of self-audit station area planning work. And we'll soon be posting the official form for cities to submit their station area plans for certification. We'll get those station area plans. Staff will work with UTA, review those, make a recommendation to Regional Growth Committee, and then those plans will come to this body to be officially certified. So that's an update on station area planning. The next deadline for technical assistance is September 19th. Again, that application will stay up, but if you have a project in mind and you're ready to go, let your staff know. September 19th will be the next date where we'll review applications after that.
So Megan, I'd like to say, I mean, I know that not all communities have the opportunity to collaborate with another community with a station area that is in along a boundary. But I can tell you that that our experience, and I'm sure Burton, your planning staff's experience is similar. Our planners are super excited to be working not only with Murray on a station, but we'll also be working with South Salt Lake on another one. And they view this as an opportunity. I mean, not only to get a good plan and have double the horsepower with 2 planning staffs working together, but also to just cross-pollinize in a lot of different ways and find out how Murray's doing this and how, what can we learn from that? And they're energized about it. I mean, they've expressed to me that they're excited about the prospect of working together with another staff to do this. So I think that's the kind of thing that we want to see in order to make our transportation network function at a high level, so that we're kind of on the same page with respect to all kinds of things, economic development and housing and all that. So thank you for considering our proposal, and we're excited about it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any action items, so that concludes my report of the Regional Growth Committee.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor. So then let's then turn to funding opportunities for local governments, and Wayne and I guess Megan, I don't know if you're going to help, but Wayne Benyon, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. Yeah, as you've already heard today, one of the opportunities for the Regional Council is to help local governments achieve their objectives. And one of the ways we're able to do this is through several funding programs. And today we just want to make you aware of some key points about these funding programs where WFRC either administers the program or is able to assist local governments in applying for these programs. We'll also introduce the program leads that are here and give you a bit more, or point you to where you can go for additional information on these programs. So we'll jump right into it. Let's see, there we go. So this is a list of the 9 programs we're able to help with. And let me introduce the program leads. We've got Ben Withridge, who's the program lead for the first 4 programs on the screen. And we've got Meg Townsend, who's the program lead for the Transportation and Land Use Connection Program, as well as the Station Area Plan Assistance that she just talked about. And then Christy was here earlier, probably had to head out, but Christy Dahlberg is the program lead for Community Development Block Grant Program, as well as assisting communities in applying for the Community Impact Board funding. And then Marsha White, who's also not able to be here today, is, as you're probably aware, the key staff contact for the Wasatch Front Economic Development District, and is able to help with pursuing funding through the Economic Development Administration. The reason there's a box around the first 5 programs is that the timeline, the application cycle, the annual application cycle is the same for those first 5 programs. I should also note that in addition to the Station Area Plan Technical Assistance Program that's new, the Carbon Reduction Program is a new formula program, like Andrew mentioned earlier, that comes from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And its objectives are pretty similar to the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program that's been around for quite a while. And so its purpose is to reduce on-road carbon dioxide emissions. So with that, I do want to, before I turn the time to Megan to talk a bit more about timeline and point you to more information about these programs, I do just want to note that due to federal formula, federal guidance, the first 4 programs are focused on the urbanized areas. There are, however, similar funding opportunities either through UDOT or other agencies. I haven't yet seen the announcement for the region, the Transportation Alternatives Program funding that comes through each of the regions, but that usually comes out in the fall, and as well as the statewide Safe Routes to School program. Those are just a couple. There are other UDOT programs for areas outside the urbanized, the census designated urbanized areas that are typically available. There's also a funding program deadline for those. That's the second Friday in January. So Megan, thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
Hi, me again. I'm just going to walk through the application timeline and tell you where to find some more information about these funding programs. So we're here, it's August, and we're announcing these funding programs to you. The notice of letters of intent is going to be sent very shortly. So you'll get a request to submit a letter of intent for those first 5 programs that were in that box on the slide. Those are all the same letter of intent. So if you submit your letter to the wrong program, we'll get you to the right place. That's just fine. Applications are due in December after we make a call for, or we'll reach out and let you know that your project is eligible, invite you to apply. That'll be in December 8th, applications will be due. And that gives us time to evaluate projects over the winter and make a recommendation for funding in the spring, and for TLC, that's awards in the spring. Here are all of the contacts of those program leads. These are on our website as well. And if you get anyone at WFRC, you get all of us, and we'll get you to the right person. And then in your packet, you should have a funding programs packet in your meeting materials. And this has a detailed 1-page summary on each of these programs, as well as a table that describes all the programs.
And Christy's back. Christy.
And this
wave
is
hi.
Christy.
There's
Christy is over our CDBG and our CIB programs. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Okay, I think Mayor Nguyen, we get to turn to you for a report on the Wasatch Front Economic Development District.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to share what we have been discussing in the WFEDD. We're working with the Governor's Office of Planning and Budget to coordinate a strategic planning process. And we're working together to create a coordinated action plan for an economic vision for 2030. And this effort, of course, we always work together because we get so much done when we work together. We can see how that works. And the effort is bringing together and linking the state's 7 association of governments, including the WFRC, and their respective regional comprehensive economic development strategies, or we call them the CEDS. And this effort is designed to identify the competitive advantages that we have in this state, and also to bring together the unique economic strengths of each of our regions, because we are different, yet we are the same. And we want to bring this all together to create a unified plan. So the effort should lead to an enhanced economic and community development capability, and also improve the quality of life for everyone in Utah. So part of the process is put together currently an effort to get feedback from businesses. So there has been a survey that has been created, and it is being promoted by Governor Cox. And so many of us, have direct relationships with businesses and the business community, and we want them to participate. So we would like to have you help us to encourage the feedback from these businesses in your community. And following this meeting, we will be sending a survey link to you so that you can follow up with that. We'll send it in an email, and you can get this out to your business community. And the responses for that survey are due on September the 2nd. So quickly get this out and as best that you can, and hopefully we can get some surveys back. And it's important to get other ideas, as everyone has mentioned in what they're doing. We want to get that, everyone's ideas and plans of what they want to do. So in addition to the statewide effort, the WFEDD we have completed an annual update of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, again, our CEDS, as well as an economic resilience update for the region. And so these efforts will lay the foundation for our next step over the next 10 to 12 months as we engage in a new 5-year comprehensive CEDS process. So we're continuing to work with those that are helping us to complete this new strategy. Our next meeting, we have had to switch the date. I think it was originally for the 20-something, but we are now moving that meeting to September the 15th. And again, we'll be focused on that plan that we are working on with the governor's office. And we appreciate, I personally appreciate the opportunity to work with Marcia and Commissioner Froer and everyone on the team as we meet together to talk about ways that we can promote our economic development in our states. Appreciate that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Great report. So Mayor Walker, can you do as well on active transportation?
I can, thank you. I don't have a lot. A couple of things. There are 2 kind of big events happening that would be of interest to members of this commission. The first is the Utah Pedestrian Summit, which is on September 14th. It's at the Utah Valley Convention Center. It's a summit. It's an event for planning, design, health, education, law enforcement, safety officials, and advocates to share experiences, opportunities, and successes in improving the pedestrian experience in your community. The keynote speaker is Dan Bruden. He's a recognized top 10 champions of change in transportation speaker and one of the 6 most important civic innovators in the world. It's an event that's probably worth everyone's attention if you're looking to improve pedestrian access and mobility in your community. Great opportunity to learn from one of the best experts in the world about it. The next is there's a mobile active transportation tour coming up on the 4th of October, a Tuesday in Park City, Utah. You'll learn from Park City about their successes and their challenges in creating a bikeable city, all while experiencing the on-the-ground infrastructure. If you're interested, you can get a hold of Hugh and we can get you information about that opportunity. It should be a fun opportunity. If your city has a canal, that's a bad accent there. If your city has a canal running through it and you're interested in developing a shared use path along that canal, you need to read the newly released report from UDOT on working with canal companies to make these pathways a reality. We can share with you a presentation given by Dr. Patrick Singleton from Utah State University on the opportunities and challenges in creating canal trails. A lot of communities have them. We have several in our community. They're actually fantastic places to build trails and you make use of this opportunity. These canals are there. You can usually get a trail alongside of them. If you're interested, it's a great presentation. It'll walk you through the pros, the cons, the hazards, all the things you hear, the children that don't drown and the children that have, and all that kind of stuff. It's actually a very informative presentation. These trails are very safe. They're very workable. They're a really great amenity to your community. And that's really all I've got. There's a lot of pedestrian opportunities. Again, take an opportunity to get this study from Utah State about canal trails. You'll find it valuable. And then we can open up our communities even more with those. So other than that, thank you. We're staying active.
Thanks, Mayor. And I might just want to point out, I mean, this relates to a couple of the items in the active transportation field, the pedestrian summit, and also I think the idea that we have school started and kids and kids will be biking and walking to school. So a number of the mayors in Salt Lake County actually kind of teamed up and try to do some public relations about having people slow down as they drive through our communities. We've experienced, I think, a rise in auto pedestrian and auto bicycle accidents. And, a lot of it is just people being hurried and careless and slowing down. So I would encourage people to think about that. And then I know Mayor Burton and Mayor Walker and I have been, and Mayor Ramsey have been involved in this. If you have either any ideas or if you want to outreach to us about what we're doing, I would encourage you to do that. We're not done yet. And it's a real challenge, and maybe with summer being over, I mean, you can have more kids out there, but it's just really something that does relate to transportation, does relate to our function. And we're also open to any creative ideas about how we can educate people or actually inform their behavior, right? Fundamentally, it's up to all of us to slow down. And I don't know, if we got ways to make people think about that more often, it'd be great. Mayor Burton.
Thank you. I wanted to say something. On the very first day of school, in the morning, on the way to school, sadly, in West Jordan, there was a child hit. In West Jordan, we have a zero tolerance policy. So if you get a ticket for going more than 20 miles an hour in a school zone, you are going to get a fine on there, and that fine is going to be big. We're just not going to we're not going to tolerate this. We need to make sure we're safe in our neighborhoods.
Mr. Chair, can I just add to that? Mayor Burton and I both have had a child in our community hit and killed over the summer that were on bikes. So as we continue to work on safe, active transportation, continuing to work on slowing down and informing behavior is top of mind. So they go hand in hand. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, Andrew, you've got another hour.
I think you've probably heard me talk enough today, so I'll just say that I look forward to seeing at least some of you at about 5 o'clock at the ribbon cutting for the Porter Rockwell Boulevard Bridge that's happening today. It's a project that has first showed up in the regional transportation plan more than 20 years ago, and it's being completed today. Dang it, it's in my office. No, because Beth is noting we also did as I said before, the ribbon cutting. There was actually a big ribbon. Anyway, with the ribbon cutting for the OGX, the first segment of the bus rapid transit in Ogden for the Weber State shuttle this morning. And that also, the first time it ever showed up in a transportation plan was in the Wasatch Front Regional Council 2002 long-range transportation plan. So perseverance and dedication and planning and working together makes things happen. So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And I want to ask Andrew to give my regrets to Mayor Hall for the fact that I won't be able to be there. Do we have any Skyline High School graduates in the room? I don't see any or online. But anyway, I am scheduled to attend the very last girls volleyball game in the Skyline High School gym, which is going to be then demolished. So sad, but also exciting to see a new high school rising basically in the same place. But that's happening too. So do we have any other business that we need to attend to today? I'm not seeing any. So there is a list of upcoming events that we have. I'm not going to go through those. You can, I think they're on the agenda, correct? So we'll just do that. And I think we're ready for everybody's favorite motion.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
And I'd just like to ask